So I'm gonna not go to the most famous song, which is a little bit line of the song that you probably might know. You might not know this song, which is too bad for you, actually. But that's not my problem exactly. Um, Here it goes. Lyrical name that tune. Um, tried okay. I'll take you down the only road I've ever been down. You know, the one that takes you to the places where all the veins meet. No, yeah, so that's the beginning lyric I want to go. So trying to make so let me why is this not going right? Okay, so I'll take you down the only road I've ever been down. You know, the one that takes you to where all the to the place where all the veins meet. Anyone know it yet? Nobody? Come on. That's a hard one though, I guess. Um,
I think I know it. Is it Bittersweet Symphony?
you got it. Who got that? Clementine.
Clementine. Yeah.
Awesome.
Took a
Right?
minute.
Yeah, so I'm going to keep reading some of the lyrics, right? Well, I've never prayed, but tonight I'm on my knees, yeah. I need to hear the sounds that recognize the pain in me now. If you don't know, we've been talking about chronic pain. I let the melody shine, let it cleanse my mind. I feel free now. But the airwaves are clean and there's nobody singing to me now. This is a great song, by the way. Um, by the way, the Verve got sued for it because they stole the basic tune from the Rolling Stones for Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, and so they ended it was a huge legal battle. But the line that people often know is because it's a bittersweet symphony. That's life. Trying to make ends meet, you're a slave to money, then you die. Right. So that's a little bit of the depressing part. Right. All right. It's a great song. So it's funny that people form the expectation that life, sensation, all of it, isn't meant to be bittersweet. Of course, it's bittersweet, right? Right? I mean, can't all be sweet, right? So I don't know what it is in your life, but like, I mean, he's doing it in terms of music, but it's like, what's the melody? I need to what does it go? I let the melody shine, let it cleanse my mind. I feel free now. So do you have that place that way you get there? Right? I like that he does it in terms of music, of course. Right? And a music, what meets you at a place, right? That can recognize what's going on in you, right? And I also like the line, but the airwaves are clean, so there's no judgment in it, right? Right? They're clean, they're not with judgment. And there's nobody singing to me now. No one's telling me what to do. It's actually my bittersweet melody. Like it's not coming from outside. So, in a way, right there, he's talking about, um, in my opinion, and the way I'm listening to it today, is that he's talking about the realization of self, right? And one of the things that helps me in that realization, so one of the things that makes me happy about yoga is that there's this thing where I've got, and again, I don't know if you've ever heard me talk about this, and I won't do it today. I could though, if you want to. That there's a big difference between self-realization and self-knowledge. They're very different, right? And just to give you a shorthand reply to that, or self-knowledge is too mentally driven. I think one of the really profound things that comes from kind of more Eastern ideas is that self, the energy of self, is basically unknowable. It's basically empty, right? It's that place your mind doesn't get to know, but your consciousness gets to have, right? Which is, I think, one of the things that this young band is trying to sing about is that's the place where the melody recognizes what's going on in him, right? So I've said that to you all sorts of ways. Sometimes it sounds philosophical. When Gita Iyengar, I quote this line to you. Um, Gita Iyengar says, "A conflicted mind's knowable, a calm mind is unknowable." Right? That's one of those lines you should go, huh? Right? There's all sorts of different places, right? Where if you have a lot of conflict, then you get to know yourself, but that's not the same as realizing yourself. I've also said this co-ed to you before. If you don't think good and you don't think not good, what's your true self? What's really important about this space that somehow lies in between, right? That's this kind of contentless space, is that I also like in this song where he's saying it's like nobody's singing to me now. I'm not listening to what's on the outside. I'm trying to feel from inside out. In a way, my whole book that I just finished, I finished by the way, is um is trying to articulate what's the experience between the world's judgments, between your judgments, right, about what you should be, right? What's the experience there? And a couple of things, one of the things I like about music is that's one of the things that gets into me at a place where I can kind of get what is in the song, can kind of feel that place. The other thing is yoga poses. Meditation, for me, when I get really, like I say, a really good Shavasana, there's no content there. It's an important place to be able to get to. It's not exactly clear how it comes into your life, which is part of why I keep telling you asking you, have you realized how Shavasana is in every pose? In a way, that's code word for the contentless part of your consciousness being an essential part of what you are, right? Um, and that's part of the things that we're exploring in yoga is how could something contentless, the contentless aspect of your consciousness, be the ground of self, right? And try not to see that as self-knowledge, right? And why wouldn't, I've said this many times to you. By the way, every time I teach on Mondays, the hummingbird comes right outside my window. Um, why would the ground of, why would Patanjali be saying, I've said this to you many times, author of the Yoga Sutras, why would he be advocating for the quieting or the ceasing of the oscillations of the mind? Why would there be so much emphasis in yogic philosophy, which I'm not an expert in, about the illusion of what the mind presents to you? Like there's something core underneath that. All of these things are just attempts to get at the contentless energy that's in all of us. That is the ground of self. And then in a more yogic orientation, they're saying that energy is already unified with everything around you. Sounds nice. That sounds like my mind trying to make it into something. What's the experience at the core? When does effortful effort become effortless? Another important line of the Yoga Sutra. So if you know anything about all the lines I've said, I basically wrapped up a whole bunch of things I've been trying to share for years. And it's all coming through a bittersweet symphony, which I'm basically trying to say is part of what it is to have a yoga practice when you live with a disability, right? And it's also joyous, right? So sit up straight and tall. Start to feel more rather than less. You know, I say all these strange things like, um, when you center, it's an energy source. There's an energy here. It's part of your your parasympathetic nervous system. It's the part that doesn't toil and engage in all the things you have to do every day, right? And so, what's the similarity between that place and just lift up for a second? What's the difference between that and the relief you feel in between the vertebrae of your spine, right? Like when you actually start to quote, make space and your mind gets to sense it in your body, that lightning relief space. How is that similar to the space you might be opening the curtain on or the doorway to when you center? Don't think about centering just in terms of quieting your mind. You're quieting your mind so it receives more of what's happening from your body. What's happening through your body is more connected to existence than how your mind judges it. We've been being told to follow rules, follow ways of thinking our entire lives. They're not wrong. They're good, mostly good advice. So now balance your head over your neck and don't be afraid of what's contentless. Soften the jaw on the inside of your mouth. Relax the skin on your face. All this stuff about the organs of perception, connect your inner ears right through the center of your skull, right? Let your cheekbones deflate. All this is trying to get you more directly experiencing what's contentless. What's great about asana, rather than just dwindle with what's contentless, you can learn how to simultaneously lift your sternum at the same time and try not to disrupt the pond of the stillness of the contentless aspect of existence. And you just thought you were centering. Yoga is an existential excursion. So I know if I add structure to the contentless, then I get become more aware of that I am a vessel or a vehicle of existence. So feel your feet and your sitting bones. These sound like fancy words, but the experience is profoundly simple. Balance your head over your neck. Feel the nudge of the inhalation against the inner circumference of your rib cage. Lift slightly under your collarbone so you don't waste it, but keep aware of your sitting bones as you lift under the collarbones. Drop the skin slightly down the back on your back body like a silk curtain to follow what's happening, not to create what's happening. Notice how that helps your spine be more alert. Bring alert stillness to the mid back, right around the kidneys. Reconnect to your feet and sitting bones. Allow the sensations. Try not to judge them. Emptiness is light. The lightness precedes your physical manifestation. Alignment plugs you into it. The lightness. Bring your hands into prayer if you want, especially if you want your midline. Pat, drop your elbows down. Yeah. Now feel the heel of your hands more. Spread the palms. You're opening the doorway to what's contentless, but your body keeps it alive. Your mind doesn't have to be afraid. Let go of your day. Prepare your mind to do asana. Good. And then release. Take your sternum up towards your chin. In other words, activate your diaphragm and your ribs a little bit more. Drop your chin. Sometimes I say that's in humility as the life force, the spark goes up the spine. When I do this, I become more aware of each nostril, each lung. Doesn't gratitude make sense? Good. And then release, raise your head up with closed eyes, open your eyes. Isn't stillness really hard to actually allow? You kind of want to immediately put it to rhythm or movement. So a lot of you in centering, because you like and you yearn for the movement part. And rhythm is not a bad way. That's why I like the idea of music, but rhythm's not a bad way to to give form and expression to that silence, that stillness, which is scary on the mind. So it makes sense. But when you're centering, you know the movement's coming, right? You know the movement's coming. So try to allow the stillness part, even though you've already been probably impatient with all my words. Take your legs apart a little bit, right? You get tired of listening, right? But don't forget, the mind's gonna play tricks, right? It's gonna not. You think you're there, you're not quite there. So I'm rocking back and forth, trying to do what we were all kind of longing for, which is like giving expression to what's happening, right? So I reversed the order this time. So now I'm going to bring my feet together again. It's because I like kind of messing with my expectations. And then I'm going to lift up again, right? And maybe we'll make it more like a movement. Like I'm going to make it be a continuous movement. I'm forward, up. So I'm not just lifting up like, okay, my mind's going to lift up. Remember, the mind actually attacks or jumps right into because the mind doesn't know, cannot gracefully enter empty space unless it quiets down. There's a reason why the will collapses empty space and turns it into will. Because it doesn't know what to do. It doesn't know how to have the empty space, like the pores in the skin, and right. So that lightness and there's certain places in human manifestation where the space gets collapsed. Your low back is one of them. As we sit more, you and I sit a lot, but as people are sitting at their desks at work, they're having low back problems because they're actually collapsing some of the life force as it comes through their low back, right? So this is really important space for you to pay attention to. So I'm leaning forward, I'm making sure I do grounding. Remember the four sensations? I'm putting my hand on my foot pedal. You do it on your chair seat, on the wheel, right? So I'm creating grounding. I'm creating structure. This doesn't look like a yoga pose, right? Maybe it's a yoga pose, right? And then I'm lifting up to feel space. And I'm knowing to lift under my collarbones just a little bit. And I spread between the shoulder blades. And when I do, as soon as I do that, I start to feel my base more. And then I come back. Now, if I've done it one way, because I'm a practiced yoga, I got to do it the other way. I'm going to switch hands. I'm going to change the positions and do the same on the other side. Oh shit, on this side, I've got a really sore elbow, right? I hear you, but I'm still looking for the same space. Even though, like a, I feel like this, like a toothache, right? I'm still looking for the same space. Don't let your mind get stuck on the outside of what you're seeking, right? All right, so now back to your legs wide again. So now you change your base. So we're just trying to wake up the spine like we do every week, right? Every single week, right? So now I'm going to try to activate my spine more. So I'm not just going to lean over. A lot of you, when you were doing like moving during centering, you're just kind of leaning over. Now you're leaning over with a little bit more discipline. I'm coming over, I'm pushing down, and I'm lifting up. I'm popping my spine right through the midline. But you know what I'm looking for from the quote metaphorical, literal backs of my eyes is I pop my spine out. I'm looking for the bottoms of my feet. Huh. You mean there's a full melody here? You know, when you listen to a song and you love a song and you've never heard the bass line? Well, it turns out when I go up, the bottoms of my feet were the bass line that I was never quite aware of, right? I'm lifting my chest. I'm just like feeling that. Now I've done it like 3 or 4 times this way. Guess what? My yoga teacher said be equal from side to side. So now I got to do it like 3 or 4 times this way, right? Because I'm trusting the fact that I need to treat my body equally. All of us have a dominant side. We don't treat our body equally, right? From side to side. None of us do. Because the mind gets into habits. I don't go this way nearly enough from my spine up. So remember, I'm leaping up and listening for the bottoms of my feet because I know spine goes this way. That's like the catchy part of the tune. The downward direction is the bass line, right? Because what if like wholeness and connection to things around you through your, through the melody, through your core, right? Is actually the baseline and the mind trying to get things done only grabs part of the whole in order to get the world done. It's not a fault of the mind. It just means your mind's limited when it comes to appreciating existence, right? Legs back together. So a little bit more attention to the activation of the spine, right? So I'm gonna I'm gonna think about a melody shining just because I like doing shit like this in my yoga practice, right? Um, uh, like so when I go up from upward facing down, when I'm swinging with rhythm, this part I'm gonna think about the shining, right? It's shining. So I'm gonna be back, I'm gonna come forward, I'm gonna come up and think about this. Could be a shine, it could be a sprouting, it could be whatever image works for you. But I'm paying attention, right? And I can improve it. See, that's what I love about yoga, man. I can hear more of the song if I just pay attention. So I could just do it, quick and go, oh, that's all it is. Or I can come forward, lift up, broaden across my collarbones, broaden across my sacrum, feel my heels because I just did that, right? Extend up and really be appreciating all the parts of the sunlight, right? But it takes my discipline not to waste it and then release. One of the lines I like to say when I was training people and teaching is that it takes discipline to receive, right? Fully receive. But you got to get the discipline not to take the joy away, right? That's why I like the idea of music. So I'm doing it some more. And you know what I know is going to come as I do this a few times? I think you can know too. I start to feel that overall buzz in my entire body. So I'm going to watch the full part of the song as I keep going back and forth a few times. I'm watching how it lights up my whole nervous system. Then I'm going to fall back. So we're kind of doing like sun salutations more with the spine right now. And I'm going back over my chair, pushing off my legs because I know I need the baseline, I need the grounding. So I'm pushing off my legs. I'm going back. And then I'm going to let it shine by broadening across my collarbones, right? And then I'm coming back through because I'm trying not to miss the splendor, right? And it's a splendor. So I like the part of the song about there's no one singing at me now because this level of appreciation depends on nobody but me, right? Me paying attention to what I'm given. And the irony is that paying attention means quieting my mind down, not getting it more active. Because this song, my body was always singing this song. It always had more than my mind was picking up, right? Oh my God. That's why I say the mind's the last one to the party, for God's sakes. And we think it leads. How did that happen, right? We think the mind's our most essential part. And in a lot of ways, our mind is the last of the party, like the last one, right? And human beings have fallen in love with it, right? I get it. It's freaking cool. So again, I'm doing more to get my spine active. So now I've been really paying attention to how tight my hip flexors are, right? So I'm really pushing down. So this spot, by the way, um, between where the femur bones hits the torso, that crease, there are a whole bunch of yoga poses, full-bodied poses, traditional yoga poses, that where this space is a hugely clarifying space. But in order to get that space to open with clarity, it takes a lot of work other places. Now, I could go through a whole series of poses to show you and talk you through. We're watching a video, and sometime maybe we should do this, like watch a video where we go through traditional poses and I show you all the crucial points I try to show you that even if you can't do it, right? So we're pushing down on that hip, on the femur bone, to make space at the hip flexor, to let that empty space be the conduit between the hope in my chest and the moon energy of my legs. So I'm pausing here. I'm engaged now. So I got my forearm for grounding, right? I'm pushing down, feeling that space, right? Sometime what we should do is just spotlight Bethany and she should do these poses and I should be telling her pointing out stuff on her pose. I wish I had a pointer. Thing is that I'd have a hard time not giving her shit, right? So up, get that space open. Now, can anyone conjure? And I don't just mean imagine, right? Can anyone conjure pushing against your own tailbone or sacrum right now as you're doing this, as I'm pushing down. So let me try, I guess you can't see what I'm doing, right? It's not like it's magical. It won't be obvious on the outside, but it's a melody that there's no one speaking to me right now because I know what's happening, right? I'm grounding here. I'm pushing here. And we're gonna have to do this a lot on the other side, aren't we, right? And then I'm going up and I'm getting this space to open, right? This space right here to open, right? And I'm trying to catch it with my chest. And then if I'm paying attention, it makes me want to balance my head over my neck, right? Because if I'm being congruent, sometimes I say, let the empty spaces align your poses. Oh my God, if you follow them like a song, holy cow. So I'm all of a sudden feeling this front leg more now. And I'm feeling the back leg and my spine's like having freedom. And holy cow, it's a good time to take a good breath if you weren't freaking talking. Good, and then release. Whew. Now, if I were to stay like that and not do the other side, it'd be weird. Because I can feel the difference now. My mind would forget it because my mind's really good at forgetting my body, right? And then over, down. Does anyone notice a big difference from hip to hip? I certainly do. This hip is looser, but it's more dead, right? It's more deadened. So I don't get as fun of a connection because this is, I've done a lot of, this is the femur bone I broke and there's a whole bunch of stuff here in me, right? So I'm going up and here I'm going to pump a little bit more so I can get activating the sensations. I don't know if you should or not in your body, but I know to get the melody to shine, I need to kind of use some more rhythm and some more quick changes, right? Like down and back up. And now it starts to come online. I can start to feel it. And then it starts to teach my feet and my legs, right? And my neck. Start to feel it all go together. And I'm grateful for that. So, Bethany, will you pull up a image of Virabhadrasana 2 and then have an image of Parsvottanasana and that's enough, I guess. I'm tempted if you could get a side view of Prasarita Pada Tadasana, but that'd be hard to find that, right? Okay, and so I've got this more open. Now I'm gonna appreciate the song that's coming through my body now. Take a couple of breaths. Because now I'm gonna take that opening in that space and come back to closer to home, put my legs back together and feel Tadasana. But I'm not just gonna rush to Tadasana, right? I'm gonna take all that's been opened, right? And I'm gonna do this thing we did last week and the week before, right? And I'm gonna bring my knees together. So I don't know. So can anyone tell? So I mean, just this is weird descriptive language, right? Can anyone tell that, like, it's not when my legs wobble out, it's not like that's more sun. It's more like dissipated empty space. When I do this and I make my bones catch the empty space, remember, self-realization is the realization of contentless empty space, right? When I do this and use the alignment, I can catch something up through my spine, right? So now we're going to do a lot of that movement, but with trying to use the conduit and the structure of my femur bones to catch something I would call this more kind of more like moon energy, to catch this moon energy, the grounding energy, and move it up through my spine, right? So I'm trying to get a new dimension into the rhythm, right? And it's not quite as much like sparkling. Remember, the earth knows how to receive the sunlight through trees and plants, but the sunlight doesn't directly touch the dirt, right? And so when you're doing something like this and getting it so deep, you're more like getting the earth part of the pose to come into the dirt part of the pose, to come in, right? Now, this feeling needs to stay as I take my legs wide again. Ooh,
I've got the
that's
images when you're ready, Matthew.
okay. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Hold on. All right. So I'm trying to get you this importance of this crease, right? This class has got to go a long time now. Courses of this, I hope you weren't planning for an afternoon. Importance of the crease. Wait, where's my, there it is. Importance of the crease in poses. So first Virabhadrasana 2. Okay, so she's doing an okay job of this. So this is my anger background, right? I'm like, oh, for God's sakes, right? Right. So if I were to, I wish you could see, I wish I had a pointer, right? So the bent leg, right? If, oh, you have a pointer, Bethany? You're
Yeah,
good.
I can sort of follow.
Yeah. So at the very top of her bent leg, right there, right on the top, right, just on the top, Bethany, and that connection to her side body, right there. If that right there, if that crease clarifies, energy shoots through her whole body,
Mhm.
right? And it even informs the back arm. She does not know when people come forward, and it's always a revelation unless you're super advanced. When that when that crease clarifies, you realize you've been stealing from the back leg.
Mhm.
Okay, like it's amazing. So one of the instructions, Bethany, go to the inside of the thigh, mid thigh of the back leg. So what we tell yoga practitioners to help them clarify this space at the crease, because it's hard to do it directly, right, is to hit the inside of the leg back,
Okay.
right, while stomping the front heel down and releasing the groin towards the knee,
Yes.
right? So again, so go to the inner thigh of the back leg. That hits back behind her, following the back arm, right? Want her to soften her groin and release it towards the knee, but stomp the heel so the energy comes up the shin. All this is to try to get opposing actions to activate that crease and the energy in her spine. This crease is super important in yoga poses, right? And then come on back. Oh, come on back. I'm talking to the freaking picture, right? Come on back up, right? I think I'm teaching. So now, so do you have a view of
I have pyramid, I have Parsvottanasana.
Parsvottanasana? Pyramid. What the hell's pyramid?
It's Parsvottanasana.
Okay, that's pyramid? That's
That's
freaking
what you asked for.
dumb.
You can tell me if I'm
That's
right.
dumb. Oh yeah. So now here's one when you forward bend. I wish there was one that she wasn't all the way in it,
Oh, if you,
right?
yeah.
But because it's prep, right? But
Mhm.
what happens is when you forward bend, you cover up the crease at the top of the thigh, right? You end up not getting that at the very top of the front thigh. You
Mhm.
end up bending over it. Do you have one where her arms might be straight before she went down?
I can
Um,
give,
yeah. So again, it's really easy for the mind to cover up space, right? So in a second, when she gets the next one, are you guys finding this kind of breakdown interesting? Yes or no? Are you with me? Yeah. Okay, because these are the things when I'm doing this stuff, like getting your hip crease open, I'm actually trying to show you stuff about what really matters in traditional yoga poses and the way we're adapting it. So, in what you think are just instructions, there's a lot of energetic stuff going on in what I'm saying. And if you can't find it, it's okay. We can go to
Well,
doc.
I'm not sure this is what you want, but
Yeah. Okay. So here it is what I want. If her
okay.
hands were down, it'd be easy because there'd be more. When her hands are on her hips, she's having to hold the muscles on her thighs really hard to do this. And she's
Mhm.
really having to lengthen her back, which isn't bad, but it steals from the core of the pose. If her hands were down they were on blocks, let's say don't look for it. If her hands were on blocks and she was stable, she'd be able to explore the space at the top of her thigh, right? So what happens is she needs to make sure she's feeling the insertion of the very top front of her thigh into her torso, making that really strong. I guarantee you that grounds her back heel, right? So when I talk to you about do this so you feel the other leg and hear the whole melody, I'm actually saying stuff that's making the pose be stronger, right? And so if what happens when people come all the way into the pose, they think it's about doing the forward bend and they cover this space up and they lose a whole bunch of energy coming from their spine,
Mhm.
right? And so that's why biggest Angar, instead of people coming down too fast, like everyone wants to do because they're thinking they're doing more yoga when they go farther into poses on the outside of poses, he introduces blocks so she doesn't come all the way down. She comes down to the blocks. So she gets her legs working right. So she feeds her spine right. So she actually then moves her torso down, but it all is full, right? So then come on back up. So, and Bethany, just one little picture of dog pose. And yeah, I almost wish you could find someone. You won't be able to find it because everyone thinks it's the finished pose. I almost wish you could find one where the heels aren't down to the ground, right? But you probably won't be able to find that, and I can talk you through it. All right, so this crease. So let's go back to what we were doing here. So take your legs wide. And so all this was trying to get you to realize when I'm leaning this way and I'm asking you to push down, right, on your back thigh and simultaneously push on this leg, right, and go up through your spine, right? And then I say, you got it, Bethany, in a second. So, and push up through your spine. And I'm telling you, hear the whole melody, hear the bottoms of your feet. That was me trying to say, get your back leg, right? And I taught you Tadasana, trying to get you to see that you can take the earth part of the energy and make it part of the shine up through your chest. Breathe. So now, don't you wish somebody was pushing on your sacrum? Can you see why that would like increase the current of the river? Right? Good. And then release. And then back this way. So Bethany, I'm gonna mess you up again. Go
Mhm.
back to warrior two before dog pose. Right? And then we're gonna go to dog pose right now. So again, we're pushing down, we're rising up. Remember I said when she gets that crease better, she'll feel her back leg better and her front leg, right? Good, and then release. So in this pose, you have to be careful with this as an adjustment in real with people in person. One of the things that would surprise the heck out of her and get way more quiet, self contentless energy, but strengthen her pose because the contentless part of your poses is a lot of where your strength is, your systemic strength. Is that if Bethany were there and she were to lightly even put even one finger or you could do a block. If you were to lightly put reference on her tailbone in this pose, her arms would get lighter and her base would get better
Mhm.
because she's losing stuff in her spine, right? And she doesn't know it. She thinks she's doing all the other parts of the pose, but some of the hub of the wheel isn't there in the same way, right? And so, and then that's good. So when we were going this way and down and up, right? And I said, don't you wish somebody was just putting a nice reference on your tailbone to get you to activate? Right? This is right near, is Angelique on the call? On the
Yes,
class? I don't think she is.
she is.
This would be what you were liking in Setu Banda, actually, Angelique, and if you remember, it's the Setu Banda class, right? If you then get all this activated and reference on your tailbone, holy cow, the river starts to rush. Breathe. So I've got my hand, instead of it on here or on my back leg right now, I'm actually putting my hand on my sacrum and I'm pushing it forward. And I'm lifting my chest. And my God, my legs are lighting up like crazy. Right? Good. And then release. So I spent years, as you can maybe guess, I spent years sitting in traditional yoga classes, doing my versions of classes, but learning a ton from the movements, right? So I even did that one with my legs not apart. That wasn't as good as it should have been because I got excited. So I'm going to go over again. But now when my legs aren't on that, I'm a little bit more dangerous here because I'm a little bit more off balance. So now I'm going to take that hand behind me. I'm going to like feel the connection to the open hip flexors. That empty space makes your arms lighter, just so you know. It's part of why you do it, right? And then I'm going to push on my tail, my sacrum, get that in the pose. Keep the space in my hip flexors and take my arm up and try to keep all of them in action at once. The empty space at the hip flexors, the setu bandha feel on the tailbone, and use it to actually help my arms. Make sure I'm connected to the bottoms of my feet. Holy cow, are we doing a standing pose? Good, and then release. But it's a standing pose at the hub of the wheel, right? So I just totally got, my body just went whew on that one. That's why I'm pausing just a second here before I do the other side. So I'm rocking back and forth a little bit to go, oh yeah. And then I'm gonna come forward and lift my chest a little bit because I wanna, on a, you may, if you're not from Minnesota, maybe you don't know this, but on a boat, you have gas that goes in the motor, you have a little thing you can squeeze to get gas to the motor, a little thing that shoots. So I'm doing that. I'm pumping the little thing as I'm going back and forth a few times because I want to make sure I got enough in there, right? So now I'm going to go through the whole sequence, what I was doing before. But now I'm going to try to take the hand behind me and I'm going to push forward. Oh, God. And I catch it and I go, oh, let the melody shine. Let it cleanse my mind. I feel free now. I'm going to take that, even though I can't continue the reference on my tailbone, I'm going to keep it in my memory and take the arm up. And I'm going to see that picture, right? And we're kind of doing triangle pose here, not Virabhadrasana 2, but the clarity at the top. The same thing happens in triangle pose, actually. In fact, get a picture of triangle pose, Bethany. Trikonasana, right? And I'm just letting it all shine through me now. Good, and then release. Come back to center. So I usually try to teach about the crease in Virabhadrasana 2 first, because it's harder to find, but it's so dynamic. Do you have Trikonasana yet, Bethany? So put it up. So one of the really important spaces in Trikonasana, use your pointer, go to the very top of the front top thigh to the side body. So you tell them to keep the side body or the lower side body crisp, but you really try to get them to engage the legs so they make that crease be like a raging river, even though it's going through a bend. When it's a raging river, not only does the spine elongate, but you get energy through the back heel, which allows you to hold your arms differently. So the space even matters there, right? And then come on up. It's amazing how much we dull the low spine. It's not just when we're sitting, right? It's when we're moving our bodies. So now I'm just wanting to move a little bit to get the space there again, right? And I'm rocking. I'm thinking, I say, hey, don't let there be compression in your low back when you're sitting all the time. It's because I'm trying to keep the whole pose embodied. The pose going, letting the melody go through your whole body. And it turns out there are places where prana gets stuck, right? All right, so Bethany, show dog pose. Did you even know? I've never taught a class like this. Did you even know how much is actually going through my head when I'm teaching? Like, there's so many ways I'm teaching you, quote, full yoga poses. That's
I did.
okay. I'm kind of mad at this
There's a
pose.
lot to learn. There's a lot going
There's a
on.
lot going wrong in this pose,
Mhm.
wrong from a pure pranic point of view. But of course, in the free to be you and me spirit of yoga, yeah, it's all great,
Mhm.
but
Her
it's
heels are
not.
up though.
Yeah, I know it's not great. Okay. But so let's try to pretend there isn't problems. And her top of her thighs are super dull here, right? At the very top, the crease right in there. And yet she seems flexible and all that stuff. And you can tell that's dull because her upper thoracic, you saw she's dipping, point to her spine, Bethany, where she's dipping too much on her back body. Right in there, right? Right in there. She's not getting the fact that she's in love with her shoulder flexibility. So
Mhm.
she's dipping there and stealing from her legs, right? So one of the ways you transform this pose, and this is a classic adjustment, of course, pioneer from Biga Sengar. You stand behind her and you take a belt, a yoga belt, and you put it at the very tops of her thighs, point to the very tops of her thighs. So you have the belt go through there and you hold each end with each arm. You lean back and you pull her back of her top of her thighs up that way. And she's going to go, oh my God, I never knew the pose did this,
Mhm.
because there'd be so much work taken out of her shoulders, right? And she'd be like, wait, you mean that's the pose? And the answer is, yes, that's the pose. You have to learn to make the crease at the top of the thighs crisp.
Mhm.
All right, come back and this might be some of you, this, I kind of hope you're getting some out of this class. So one of the hard things about doing dog pose in your chair, right? And um, so I'm doing it this time with my hands on my thighs like this, right? And one of the advantages of doing it this way is if I put my bone of my wrist against the bone of my knee, and I pay attention to the side of my arms and hitting back against my femur bone, if I make this triangle, right, underneath my arm this way, if I make that triangle really strong by not just pushing against my knees, but lengthening the other side of my arms, can anyone feel that engages the top of the hip flexors? So hit the tailbone down, make that triangle strong, broaden your palms, breathe. Can anyone tell? And then release. So now do the same pose and don't activate your arms so much, that triangle. Can you feel that it's way more dull? Right? So all this was one of the things it was aiming for is what can I do to activate the crease, like pulling on the belt back on her hips, right? So here, do it again, hit back, make that triangle strong. And can you tell when you get the full thing, all of a sudden you feel your legs more and you think, I think I want to spread the soles of my feet the same way I'm feeling the sensation on my palms. And when I do that, wait, does your abdomen, low abdomen hit back even farther when you try to spread your feet? Does anyone feel this crazy shit I'm feeling right now? Spread the skin on your feet and watch the abdomen go back. Breathe, downward facing dog, right? And then release. So when you put your, oh God, I'm supposed to be done now. Not quite. Hands on the table. So there's advantages to do it and do it the other way if you didn't, because this is a disadvantage on the table. So you can get the arms better, but when you're leaning forward like this, just like Parasvanasana where she was, I saying she's forward bending too fast and want to get the top of her thigh. When you come forward like this, it's really easy to cover up the crease right at the top of the thigh. So I tell you to activate your arms, muscle towards the bone. But you know, when I tell you to broaden across your sacrum, right? When I give you that instruction in this version, down facing dog, can you feel that activates the hip crease? Breathe. When the hip crease gets activated, can you feel your legs more? Yes. Downward facing dog. And then release. All right, we better slow down and get quiet. Let go of the melody and let the melody be a memory, right? So sit. I'll be curious for some feedback to see if this kind of breaking down and looking at it in relationship to quote more traditional poses is helpful, right? So I've got to get lighter a little bit before I head into Shavasana because remember, self comes from what's contentless, maybe. It's not self-knowledge. Self-knowledge is really important. Knowing what you like and don't like and how you react in certain, that's all really important, but it's not self-realization. When you let the ground of self-realization be emptiness or staticness, you can kind of see how it's infinite, that it's not particular. So you soften lips together, teeth slightly apart, and you soften around the temples and the jaw on the inside of the mouth, and you're like, oh my gosh, even the quiet energy has a melody. And it makes my edges dissolve. But before they do, feel your feet and sitting bones and really let into a sense of structure. Let in that the chair is supporting you. So the way the chair supports you should even be able to enter your jaw. All of a sudden, the relief should let you kind of sense how to let go of your gums and your teeth even. Oh my goodness. It was always here. So hopefully when you read this book, this is what I mean by darkness. The contentless is maybe the perpetual observer of the light. Make sure the tongue's in the lower palate. Feel your breath. Don't change. Thank your body, but smile with the top of your spine. Start to bring yourself back. Slightly deeper inhalation. Slightly longer exhalation. Often when I come out of Shavasana, I try to let the class, the whole class, all the different things I do with my body, I try to like not mentally visit them, but let it all be true in my body as I open my eyes and come back to space. Try to like, I want the whole sequence to come with me, right? Into the, from memory into movement, right? So you actually go, oh, yeah, I get to bring shit with me, right? It's because I'm a partial time traveler. I get to bring parts of the past into the present and have it affect the rest of my day. I get to go forward and backward in time, right? Just don't get stuck in the past. Hands together. Namaste. Spirit in me bows to the spirit in you.